Welcome back to our partnership and joint venture tips video series. This is part 4. And here we're going to be talking about starting small and thinking long term. And I've already touched on a few of these ideas, but here I wanted to expand a little bit. Very, very important stuff. So let's start with the idea of picking a small project, starting small with JVs. And we put a little Z there to make it cool. But pick a small project with well-defined and end completion dates. When I say a small project, I mean something that you can do within a month or less in an ideal world. Now, in some cases, you can't do that. If you're partnering on somebody on a software project, then the shortest period of time may be 3 months or even a little bit longer, depending on your testing phases. But the key thing here, regardless of time frames, is to pick something small with the fewest number of deliverables and steps as possible. Because, in general, when you start a joint venture or a partnership, there is so much going on. There's so much you need to learn just about your partner and about working with them and coming to agreements and working on a level where you can all get along and come up with the same type of results. That if you pick a huge project, it's going to be a massive undertaking and you're going to have to ditch other forms of your business entirely. It will start to cause a lot of stress, and especially if the project doesn't go well. So you want to use small projects to learn in the beginning. And it could be, like I said, it could be something, you do it once, maybe you complete it within a few days, you test it out, and if it works well, then you evolve to something bigger. But either way, pick it at a level where you're not committing to a long period of time. And again, we mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to repeat it here. You want to use this to understand what you like and dislike about the person, about partnering in general, and about the things that you have to bring to the table in a partnership agreement. Remember, we said in the last video that you're going to have a certain level of flexibility. You're going to have to perform roles in some cases that are not ideal for you. They're not your favorite thing in the world to do, but the partnership requires you to step up to the plate. You won't know what you like and dislike about all these different elements and aspects of partnering until you try it. So you try it on a small project with low risk, and it's much, much easier to move through that. And hey, if it doesn't work out, it's much easier to walk away and say, great working with you, but it's probably best if we just move on. Whereas if it did go great, then you can say, this was awesome. What can we do that's a little bit bigger? Let's go for it. We're working well together here. And then you can build on the things that you do like and then get rid of the things that you dislike, or at least have a plan to handle those things. And the last thing is probably the most important here. And you want to make sure that you record everything that you learn. And you can do this through note-taking. You can do this through recording your voice, or recording phone calls you have, or whatever it may be. But as you do your first, second, third partnership type of deal, take some time at the end of every week or at the end of every logical goal that you produce in your partnership to record the things that you've learned about the business, about yourself, about the other person, what motivates you, what you like and dislike, and you journal it all, because you will forget a lot of these things. You'll forget the emotional roller coaster that you go on as you work in a partnership. Some days you're going to be elated. Other days you'll be frustrated and thinking, why did I do this to begin with? If you record all of that in time, you can go back and revisit those thoughts that you had. Look at the things that were good. Look at the things that were bad. Realize when you were probably exaggerating and blowing things out of proportion emotionally when they really weren't all that bad, so that next time when you get into a partner deal, you won't let the emotions get the better of you, and you can handle that situation a little bit better. But you forget a lot of these things. Let's face it. When you're in the heat of battle and you're working on a project and you're working in a partnership, especially, there's lots going on, you're going to forget a lot of the conversations that happen, a lot of little incidents that happen along the way, unless you record them. When you do record them, you can go back and you'll have so much more learning that you get out of it, which is really the idea here. You want to learn and grow yourself as a person so you can be more capable in business, whether you're doing something on your own or in a partnership. So record it all. Thinking long-term with your partners. Again, we talked long-term earlier. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper here. This first point is absolutely critical to wrap your head around. Brainstorming is very, very seductive, which is a good and a bad thing. And what do I mean by that? For sure, you've been in a meeting at a Starbucks or a coffee shop or on the phone, and you're talking with a potential partner, or maybe it's a partner you signed a new deal with, and you're going on and on and on about all the money you can make, the number of customers you can acquire, and how good things are going to go, and the new projects you can expand into, and how easy this thing will look once you've built the systems. And all those things are so easy to wrap yourself into, and you immediately become blind, and you're so optimistic you forget about all of the work that's going to go into this, and you forget the fact that most of these ideas that you come up with in your mind before a project starts usually don't pan out the way that you think they are in the beginning. Those brainstorming sessions very rarely go the way that you sort of visualize or daydream about them in those earlier sessions. So the creativity that comes in a brainstorming session is a good type of seduction because it gets the creative juices flowing, but it's bad because often you can become blind to the reality of what you're facing, of the amount of work that's going to happen, and the probably huge number of roadblocks that you're going to hit, and it's very likely not going to be as easy as you currently think it is based on this brainstorming session. So always remember that, and remember to calm down a little bit when you get all excited in these sessions. There's a reality you got to keep in mind here. So when it comes to that, when you're getting all excited and you're coming up with ideas, the way to bring yourself back down to earth is this. Think about the potential cost of every single decision you're making. If you're deciding to provide some kind of service, and these customers are going to need to be serviced over the long run, a year, 2 years, 5 years, what's that going to mean to you, not just now, but down the road, right? You're going to make some money now, and you're getting into a new area of business. Are you prepared for the long haul here? Are you prepared for the commitment it's going to take when these customers are still looking to you for help way, way down the road? Or are you planning to do something else in your business down the road? And making a decision like the one you're about to make because you're excited may not be the best idea based on where you're going in your life and your business long term. So always think about the cost of each and every decision that you make. Sometimes it's going to be worth it. Sometimes you're just going to miss it and you won't you won't catch it or realize the cost, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But at least being aware of this, being cognizant of this now is going to help you huge when it comes to working with joint venture deals or partnerships in general. And then this will help you immensely. Define a minimum time requirement for each partner. So if you're doing something, you say, look, let's give this a shot. For the next 3 months, we're going to commit a certain amount of time per week to doing this. And if after 3 months we both realize that we're not hitting our goals or objectives aren't being met, we can shut this thing down. But until those 3 months are up, let's give it a fair shot. Or maybe it needs 6 months, or maybe you only want to give it a week to see how you and the other person work together. But the thing is, if you don't have a time commitment set, this thing will drag on. And especially if you miss some of the earlier steps I talked about, like having an exit strategy, it can really become a thorn in your side. So just have an agreed upon time that you both commit to doing this, and maybe you just, you give it a first step phase, give it a shot. Okay, after this first period of time, we'll revisit and redefine goals, and maybe re-up our partnership deal. But until then, let's go heads down and see if we can make this work. So in summary, remember that there's always a long-term impact, not just in joint venturing or in partnering, just in general. Anything you do is going to have both short and long-term implications. If you remember this, when you're excited and when you're planning these big ideas and visions, it will bring you back down to earth and make you more realistic and logical, which will actually remove and reduce pain from you in the long run, and that'll actually make you happier in the long run. So you just need to reframe this in your mind. And if you understand what's required of you and your partner down the road, you'll both be very, very successful, and you'll be setting up something that will very likely work versus a lot of the partnerships that fail a lot of the time.